Imagine a world where making even the tiniest sound means instant death. A pregnant woman steps on a nail and cannot scream. A baby is about to be born and cannot cry. And a monster that is completely blind can hear your heartbeat from miles away. This family has one shot at survival, and it all comes down to a hearing aid. Stick around because the ending of this story will blow your mind. The story begins at a deserted market where we see a family that is completely silently and quietly collecting the supplies they need. These people were so scared that they could not even talk to each other. They were just communicating through hand signals. There was definitely something that was forcing them to stay completely quiet. The leader of this family is Lee and his wife's name is Evelyn. Here their older daughter Reagan, who could not hear since childhood, and their two sons Marcus and Bo. Bo is younger in age. Because of this, he cannot understand a lot of things. He spots a toy rocket up on a shelf. Just as he is about to pick up that rocket, it slips out of his hand and falls down. Seeing this feels like everyone's heart skipped a beat, but right at the last moment, Reagan quickly catches that toy rocket and saves everyone's lives. Lee signals everyone to understand that evening is about to come. We need to get back home as fast as possible. Otherwise, we could end up in danger. Just then, their 4-year-old son had picked up that same toy rocket again. Seeing him, everyone was terrified because this rocket ran on batteries. As soon as it was turned on, it could make noise. Lee takes that rocket from his son's hand and takes out its battery and puts it on the table. After this, they all started heading out for home. But that little boy kept insisting again and again that he wanted to take that rocket along with him. So Reagan quietly hands him that rocket without the battery, and she also came out the door. But then that boy had picked up the rocket's batteries too. After this, all 4 of them headed in a line toward home. A terrifying kind of silence has spread everywhere. In the whole world now, very few people have survived, and these 5 people are also among them. Here we see that they had spread sand all the way to their home in a line, and these people were walking on it barefoot so that there would not even be the sound of footsteps. Right there, innocent Bo was behind Reagan. He was very happy with the rocket. Then Bo put the batteries in the rocket and turned it on, because of which music started playing in that rocket. Reagan could not hear, so the sound did not even grab her attention. But when Lee and Evelyn heard it, they both got very, very scared. Then suddenly, from out of the middle of the dense jungle, a terrifying monster, moving at lightning speed, started heading toward Bo. Lee quickly runs fast toward Bo to stop the toy. But by then, it was way too late. That monster took Bo away with it. After that, we are shown a scene from 1 year later. Lee and his family had learned to live in these conditions. Lee had made a research room inside his house, where he had gathered complete information about that monster. Here we come to know that that terrifying monster which can detect even the slightest and most quiet sound from several kilometers away. The interesting thing was that those monsters were completely blind, but their hearing ability was so strong that they could feel even the slightest vibration in the air, and even the most quiet sound. If a person even breathes loudly, they would sense it, and those monsters would run toward them at lightning speed and tear that person apart in just a few seconds. Along with this, the skin of these monsters was stronger than iron, which protected them from bullets and any kind of weapon. Actually, 1 year ago from today, these monsters came to this earth through a meteorite that came from space. These monsters were so incredibly fast that in just a short period of time, they spread all over the earth and wiped out almost all traces of humans from this world. The only way to survive from these monsters was to stay completely calm and quiet, which Lee and his family already knew this secret, so they had completely secured themselves. Lee had put up security cameras all around his house so that they could get a heads up about the monster coming. Along with this, he had placed a special type of markings on the stairs and on the spots where you would step so that those creatures could not even hear the sound of their footsteps. And Lee had also built an underground bunker in his house where he would do research on these monsters. He had also figured out that there are a total of 3 monsters present in this area. Now Lee was trying to find out about the weakness of those monsters. Along with this, Lee was sending out a help signal to the whole world through radio, but until now he had not been able to make contact with anyone. Here we come to know that Evelyn is pregnant, and very soon she is going to give birth to a baby. Now, because this baby would start crying when it is born, so they had made a sound-proof box for their upcoming baby, so that whenever, if the baby cries, they could put an oxygen mask on its mouth and hide it in that box so that the monster would not hear the baby's crying sound. In this tough situation, being ready to survive from the monsters was very necessary. But Lee's older daughter, Reagan, could not hear, and this shortcoming could turn into a big problem for her. So Lee was trying to fix this shortcoming of hers. Lee makes a cochlear hearing amplifier for his daughter, Reagan, and Lee gives that amplifier to Reagan. But Reagan was not happy about this amplifier because she felt that just like always, this amplifier would not work either because Lee had already made several amplifiers for his daughter Reagan before this. So Reagan at first throws down this amplifier, but when she tests that amplifier, then this amplifier purifier is actually working. Hearing the sounds of the outside world, she starts crying out of happiness, and along with this, Reagan also gets reminded of her little brother. Reagan still holds herself responsible for her brother's death to this day. From this, it seems like if she had not given her brother the toy rocket that day, then her brother would be alive today. Reagan wanted to prove herself by helping out in her father's work, so Reagan starts heading toward her father's underground bunker. But then her father stops her and refuses to let her go inside. Because 1 year ago, because of Reagan's mistake of giving her little brother the toy rocket, now he does not trust Reagan at all. He is worried that down in the underground bunker there are microphones, radio, and many other things. If even by mistake Reagan's hand touches any such thing that creates sound, then our lives could be in danger. The next day, Lee is heading to the river with his son Marcus to catch fish. Reagan also wanted to go with them. Reagan requests Lee that please take me with you too, but Lee refused to take her with him. He tells Reagan that your mom is alone at home, so you stay home and look after your mom. After which Lee headed toward the river with Marcus. This really hurts Reagan a lot and she gets upset. She feels like her father does not love her, so she packs her bag and she also leaves the house and goes somewhere and comes straight to the place where the monster had killed her brother. She lies down next to her brother's grave and starts crying, and within just a little while, Reagan falls asleep right there. On the other side, Evelyn was completely alone at home. A little while later, she had washed clothes from the basement and was putting them in a bag and taking them outside. Then a nail stuck in the stairs got hooked into that bag and stood straight up. That sharp nail was right on the spot marked for placing their feet, but Evelyn did not see it. On the other side, Lee and Marcus were busy catching fish. A little while later, Lee takes his son Marcus to a waterfall, and Lee tells his son that here you can talk, because due to the sound of the waterfall, your voice will be hidden in it, and your voice will not be able to reach that monster. Now you can talk openly. The two of them sit near the waterfall and start talking. Marcus asks, does he hold Reagan responsible for Bo's death? To which Lee answers that whatever happened with Bo, it was not anyone's fault. But Marcus tells Lee that Reagan still holds herself responsible for Bo's death to this day. So you should tell Reagan that it was not your fault that day. During this same time, Evelyn was shedding tears in memory of her dead son and mourning for him. Then suddenly labor pains started for her, meaning the time for her delivery had come. She headed quickly toward the basement, holding the photo frame in her hand. But then while going down the stairs in a hurry, her foot sank right into that sharp nail. Evelyn was writhing in pain, but she did not let out a sound from her mouth. But the photo frame of her son slipped from her hand and fell down with a loud sound and shattered. Evelyn somehow managed to pull her foot out from that nail. During this time, she suffered so much pain that her face turned completely red. But keeping control over herself, she did not let out even a single sound, because she knew that making a sound means inviting your own death. She comes limping downstairs and turns on the light switch, which causes the red light outside to turn on. Now she started going back upstairs, but then she saw something that made her breath get stuck in her throat. Actually, that monster had already reached her house, because when that photo frame had fallen from Evelyn's hand, the monster had heard that sound. Trembling with fear, Evelyn hid behind a wall. On the other side, Lee and Marcus were returning home after catching fish. Then from a distance, they saw that red lights were flashing all around the house. Lee understood that Evelyn is in danger. He immediately ran toward the house. On the other side, Evelyn, hiding in the basement, was trembling with fear, and that monster was searching for her in every corner of the house. Then Evelyn found a timer in the basement. Here, Evelyn smartly sets a few seconds of time on that timer and puts it in one corner and quickly comes and hides in another corner. In the meantime, that monster senses movement there, and it slowly started moving toward the spot where there was movement. It was getting pretty close to Evelyn. On one hand, Evelyn was having labor pain, and on the other hand, there was the fear of that monster. But Evelyn, keeping complete control over herself, sits down completely quietly. Then the alarm went off in the timer, which the monster heard, and ran fast in that direction. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Evelyn quickly came out of the underground basement. But just as she was about to come out of the main door, she saw that another monster was roaming around here and there outside the house. So Evelyn hid right there against the wall. On the other side, Lee was watching all of this from a distance with Marcus. Lee understood that if I go to the house to save my wife, then instead of saving my wife, both of our lives could be lost, because that monster's body is so tough that killing it with a gun is impossible. So he started working on a plan he had already made. Lee quickly gave Marcus a torch and asked him to quickly launch the flare rockets, which they had already set up at a spot away from the house beforehand. After which, Marcus ran fast toward the rockets. On the other side, Evelyn had come running to the bathtub on the upper floor, and she was in a lot of pain. Now she could not hold the baby back any longer. She was just about to give birth to the baby when, sensing the sound of her sobbing, that monster had come close to the bathroom. Evelyn had already understood that surviving now seems impossible. Just then on the other side, Marcus launched the rockets, because of which flares started in the sky with a loud sound. Hearing which, that that monster left Evelyn right there and ran fast toward that sound. And at that very moment, Evelyn, who had been holding in her pain, screamed out loud, the sound of which gets drowned out in the noise of the rockets. These rockets, noise, and lights are also seen by Reagan from a distance, and she heads toward home. A little while later, Lee came inside the house with a gun. He saw that there were bloody footprints on the stairs. He follows those marks and reaches the bathroom. Reaching there, he sees that the bathtub is red with blood. He understood that Evelyn had also become a victim of that monster. He sat down right there shedding tears, but then someone placed a hand on the bathroom glass. That was none other than Evelyn herself. Even in this incredibly tough situation, Evelyn had held herself together and given birth to a baby. Finding Evelyn alive, Lee's eyes went wide with shock. Now, before the baby's crying sound could come, Lee quickly picked up Evelyn and the baby and brought them to the underground room where they had made the soundproof box for the baby in the basement. But even before going into the basement, the baby had started crying, hearing which that monster started coming fast toward them. Lee quickly went into the underground room and covered the door with a thick mattress. Lee immediately put the oxygen mask on the baby's mouth and locked it in the box, because of which the baby's crying sound stopped. Only then did the two of them take a breath of relief. Here Lee tells his wife Evelyn that I have already found out about these creatures' weakness. Now very soon I am going to prepare a tool for them, because of which these creatures will not be able to harm us at all. During this same time on the other side, Reagan was also returning home. Then she spotted a light turning on in the middle of the fields. Reagan quickly started coming near that light, but she was unaware of the fact that a monster was following her along, sensing the sound of her footsteps. Just as that monster came very close to Reagan to kill her, then suddenly a sharp and intense frequency started coming out of Reagan's ear device. This sharp sound caused that monster to start squirming in agony, like this sound was piercing the monster's ears like a needle. This monster could not handle this sound for long and quickly ran away from there. Right there, this sound was also piercing Reagan's ears. But as soon as that monster ran away from there, the pain in Reagan's ears stopped. But Reagan could not understand why her ear device had done this all of a sudden. Not paying much attention to this, she reaches near the light. Then she found that the light was from a torch. Just as Reagan went to pick up that torch, then suddenly someone grabbed her hand. That was none other than Marcus, who was hiding here trembling with fear. Seeing his sister, Marcus's nervousness went away. He tells Reagan that I was watching you from hiding behind the bushes. That monster was also coming behind you. But I do not know that monster came very close to you and then suddenly ran away. Hearing this, Reagan gets very, very scared, because she did not even know that a monster was coming behind her. Right there on the other side, Evelyn was worrying about her children. She tells Lee, I am scared that maybe the monster has eaten up my children. You quickly go find my children and bring them back. So Lee puts his wife and baby to sleep in the underground room and steps outside from there. First, he starts looking around for danger, but now that monster had already left from there. But it had completely trashed the whole house, because of which a water pipe that was there also broke, and water was going straight down into the underground room. But Lee did not notice this, and he headed toward the fields to find the children. During this time on the other side, Marcus and Reagan were hiding on top of a grain storage tank, and they light a fire so that their father would see this fire and come here. Lee also starts searching for his children here and there. A little while later, the sound of water wakes Evelyn up. She saw that the entire basement had filled up with water. Water was coming down like a waterfall from above. In the meantime, Evelyn's eyes fell on her baby's box. That box was open, but not even the slightest sound was coming from the baby. Just as Evelyn started going toward the box, then she spotted a monster right in front near the box. Seeing it, Evelyn got very, very scared. Evelyn thought that maybe the monster had eaten her baby, because Evelyn could see that box. But that box was quite far from her, so she could not see inside the box whether the baby was still alive or the monster had eaten it, so she slowly started moving toward the box. Then that monster also steps down into the water. But when Evelyn reached close to the box, she saw that her baby was perfectly safe. Out of good luck, the baby had not made a sound, because of which its life had been saved. She took her baby and came and stood quietly in a corner. But that monster was hovering right near Evelyn like death itself. If even the slightest crying sound came from the baby's mouth, then their death was certain. On the other side, Reagan and Marcus had gotten tired of waiting for their father. Reagan feels like their father is not going to come to save them. Now she wanted to go home alone, but Marcus had complete faith in his father. Seeing his sister about to leave, Marcus tries to stop her. But just as he steps forward to stop his sister, the door of the grain tank opens and he falls inside it. While falling, a loud sound comes out of Marcus's mouth, hearing which the monster that was searching for Evelyn inside the house immediately ran after that sound, because of which Evelyn was saved, but now Marcus's life was in danger. That grain-filled tank was like quicksand, and the more force Marcus was putting in to get out, the more he he was sinking deeper into it. Here, Reagan breaks open the door of the tank and throws it down into the grain below and jumps into the tank herself. Just as Marcus was about to drown in the grain, Reagan grabs him and pulls him out, and both of them sit on top of the door, because of which their lives are saved. But the monster had sensed the movement of these two, so that monster comes quickly through the field path toward the tank. Lee sees the monster heading fast toward the tank and understands that both his children are near the grain tank. Reagan had saved Marcus's life, but it was not going to do any good, because after all this noise and chaos, the shadow of death was rapidly moving toward them. The very next moment, that monster also jumped inside the tank. Just as it moved forward to kill those two, then once again a sharp, piercing sound started coming out of Reagan's ear device. This sound was extremely painful for that monster, so without killing them, it gets out of there. Reagan and Marcus barely escaped death by the skin of their teeth and climbed out of the tank. Outside, Lee had also shown up searching for them. He is so happy to see his kids safe and sound. During this whole time, Evelyn was watching all of this from the security camera room too. Then Lee figures out that that monster is still hanging around nearby. He immediately sent the kids toward the car right in front of them, and he himself picked up an axe and started scanning the area around him. But that creature was right above him. The moment Lee turns around to look behind him, that monster strikes him with its claw and sends him flying. Seeing his father in pain, Marcus starts calling out to Lee. Hearing the sound, the monster also figures out Marcus's position. That monster now started moving toward Marcus and Reagan. But then once again, frequencies started coming out of Reagan's ear device. That sound was piercing Reagan's ears too. So Reagan switched off her own ear device. But this was her biggest mistake ever. The frequency that came from this device was the exact same frequency that was the monster's weakness, which it absolutely could not handle at all. But without even realizing it, Reagan switched off the machine and basically handed her own death an open invitation. The very next moment, that monster pounced on the car and started trying to get to Marcus. During this same time, over on the other side, Lee had regained consciousness. Seeing his kids in danger, he had already figured out that by fighting the monster, he could never kill it no matter what. So now he saw only one single way out. He signaled Reagan through hand signs that I love you so incredibly much. I have never ever blamed you for Bo's death, and as long as I am here, nothing is going to happen to you. After which, Lee started screaming at the top of his lungs. Hearing him, that monster charged straight at Lee and tore him completely apart in one single move. Seeing her father dying right in front of her eyes, Reagan feels tremendous heartbreak and grief, because before this, she used to think that her father did not love her, but now she realized that she had been completely wrong all along. After killing Lee, that monster leaves from there. On the other side, Evelyn was also watching all of this through the security cameras, and then Reagan, at that very same moment, starts the car and comes home with her brother. The second Evelyn saw her kids safe and sound, she pulled them close and held them tight against her chest. Just then, Evelyn noticed that that monster was once again heading their way, after which these people quickly rush inside the house, where Marcus and Reagan get to see their little baby brother for the first time. Reagan sees just how much hard work her father had been putting in for her cochlear implant. Now she starts missing her father tremendously. A little while later, that monster came busting right into their house. Evelyn stood her ground in front of it with the gun aimed straight at it. Evelyn had a gun, but she knew that her bullets could not do a single thing to that monster's thick skin. So now she could see her own death staring her right in the face. But just as this monster stepped forward to kill those people, then suddenly Reagan started feeling pain in her ear. But on the other side, she noticed that that monster was also suddenly starting to writhe and squirm in agony, meaning the very moment pain started up in Reagan's ears, at the same time on the other side, that monster was feeling pain several times worse than hers. Reagan figures out that the device in her ear that her father had built has some kind of connection with this monster. Just then, Reagan's attention shifted to her father's research notes, from which Reagan found out that the high-pitched frequency coming out of her ear device is the monster's one true weakness. Reagan had already figured out that whenever this monster came close to me, then pain would start up in my ear, and that monster would run away from there. Before this monster could kill them all, Reagan quickly cranks up the power on the cochlear implant in her ear even more. The high-frequency sound that blasted out of it caused that monster to suddenly start writhing in unbearable agony. It looked exactly like that high-frequency sound was driving needles and pins throughout every single part of that monster's entire body. Here, Reagan's mom also figures out that all of this incredible power is coming from the cochlear implant, but cranking up the power was also causing more and more pain in Reagan's own ears too. So Reagan, being smart about it, takes that ear device and connects it right up with a microphone that was sitting there, which caused that frequency sound wave to become even more powerful powerful and intense than before. Now that monster was in absolutely terrible shape from the pain, and the armor plating on its skull started cracking open all on its own. The moment the armor cracked open and its mouth came into view, Evelyn fired the shotgun point blank directly into its mouth, which caused its skull to burst open completely like a pop balloon, and finally, once and for all, that monster was killed dead. Although the danger was not over just yet, hearing the sound of the gunshot, the other two remaining monsters in that area also started making their way toward them. But now Evelyn and Reagan had already figured out exactly what these monsters' weakness was. So Reagan cranked the microphone's volume all the way up to full blast, and Evelyn got herself ready to take down those monsters. And with that, this story comes to an end. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. And if you want the second part of this movie, then write part 2 down in the